Dear learners, in this session we will discuss Supply Chain Operations Reference Model in detail. Supply Chain Operations Reference Model is a framework for performance analysis and performance enhancement across the supply chain. It is a tool employed by manufacturing and service industries to analyze, benchmark, and improve the processes of supply chain management. It is a management tool used to communicate supply chain decisions within a company, suppliers, and customers of a company. Organizations have successfully integrated SCOR model into their business framework and noted that SCOR resulted in reduced inventory, enhanced customer service, streamlined supply chain processes, and redefined organizational supply chain, improved operational flexibility. And now we will look into the SCOR model components and the structure under the following headings: 5 process blocks, level of process and performance measures across the process elements and components of SCOR. SCOR process blocks. The 5 processes in SCOR are plan, source, make, deliver, and return. The plan includes processes that refer to demand and supply planning. The sub-processes are leveraging resources with requirements, designing business rules related to inventory, capital assets, logistics, and compliances to regulatory standards, communication plans for supply chain, defining standards to improve and measure supply chain efficiency. Source includes all processes to procure raw materials, stocks, make to order and engineer to order goods or services to meet the real and anticipatory demand. It includes processes related to scheduling, procurement and deliveries, identifying, selecting and establishing supplier networks, order placement, fulfillment and authorizing payments, inventory management, managing supplier agreements and supplier relationship, assessing supplier performance, monitoring material acquisition and sourcing infrastructure. Make includes all the processes related to production of make to stock, make to order and engineer products. It includes scheduling production activities, managing work in progress, equipment, facilities and the production network. Deliver includes all processes related to outbound logistics, from moving the product from the place of manufacture to the customer. It includes customer and processes of order management, from receiving order inquiry to delivery, developing quotes and routing shipment, logistics, product lifecycle management, finished inventory management, managing compliances related to sales, imports and exports. Return includes all processes to handle the returns of materials purchased to the suppliers and returns of finished goods from the customers. It involves application of return policies developed by the organizations, authorization and scheduling returns, receiving, verifying and reverse logistics of products, replacement and reverse logistics, regulatory compliances and asset management, after sales customer support and follow-up. SCOR describes the business activities to satisfy the customer demand. The activities are organized across the supply chain around the 5 process blocks, namely plan, source, make, deliver and return. How do organizations implement SCOR framework? The 4-step SCOR implementation process includes Level 1, defining scope and process type. Level 2, configuration of process categories to supply chain process types. Level 3, defining process elements. Level 4, implementation of supply chain management practices by integrating processes, metrics, best practices, and execution of supply chain. At level 1 of defining scope and process categories, the organization select the supply chain process categories and select performance attributes that best describes them. The performance attributes are reliability, responsiveness, agility, cost and asset management efficiency. At level 2 and 3, The SCOR processes are defined as process type, process elements, process flow diagrams, and tasks to be achieved. The inputs, process elements, outputs, and performance metrics for each process element within the flow diagram is defined. Best practices can also be identified at this level. Supply chain management practices are identified and implemented. The level 4 involves integrating business process reengineering, benchmarking, and best practice analysis with SCOR framework and implementing supply chain management practices for enhanced supply chain performance. The three techniques at this level are business process reengineering, redesign the core supply chain activities to meet the future competitive markets. Benchmarking, quantifying the supply chain operations performance with similar companies and best industry practices. Best practice analysis, characterize the management practices and software solutions that result in superior performance. The four components of SCOR model are performances. Metrics for evaluating supply chain process performance and defining the strategic goals. Processes, management processes and process relationship. Practices, management practices for better supply chain performance. People, skills and competencies of people to perform supply chain processes. To sum up, Supply Chain Operations Reference Model is a framework to describe, measure and evaluate supply chain processes. The major elements of SCOR model are process blocks: plan, source, make, deliver and return. Process levels: define scope, process categories and performance metrics. Configure process types to supply chain processes. Define process elements, workflows and related performance metrics. Integrate and implement best practices of supply chain management. Components, performance, processes, practices and people. With this explanation of SCOR, a self-study exercise for you. Identify the SCOR framework of any company and brief the SCOR process levels. Thank you.